The jungle swallowed them whole the moment they stepped inside. A dozen soldiers armed to the teeth, boots sinking into the mud, their uniforms already drenched in sweat. They laughed, confident, certain of victory. To them, this was just another mission, another hunt. But the jungle had no mercy. Its air was thick, its shadows alive, its silence heavier than gunfire. Every leaf seemed to hide an eye, every tree a secret. The soldiers thought they were predators. What they didn't know was that they had just walked into the territory of something far deadlier. Before we dive deeper, hit the like button and subscribe, because this story of survival and vengeance will keep you on the edge of your seat. As the soldiers marched deeper, the sounds of life seemed to vanish. No birds, no insects, no rustling leaves. The silence was unnatural, as if the jungle itself was holding its breath. Sweat trickled down their faces, not from the heat but from the growing unease in their chests. One soldier whispered, "Something's wrong. Jungles don't stay this quiet." But his words were met with nervous laughter, the kind men use to hide their fear. Still, they tightened their grips on their rifles, scanning every shadow, every movement. The silence wasn't emptiness, it was presence. It was the warning of a predator watching from above, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. And though the soldiers didn't know it yet, the hunt had already begun. The further they advanced, the more the jungle seemed to close in around them. Thick vines hung like nooses, trees loomed like ancient guardians, and the damp soil carried traces no one could explain. One soldier knelt, brushing away the mud, and froze. There it was, a footprint. But not like any they had seen before. It was wide, deliberate, and almost designed. As if someone knew how to step without leaving sound, but wanted to leave a message. The soldier looked up, his eyes darting nervously through the canopy. Minutes later, they stumbled upon something worse. A crude trap hidden among the undergrowth. Sharpened stakes, positioned at the perfect angle to impale. Not random, not desperate. Crafted with precision. One of the soldiers muttered under his breath, "We're not alone." For the first time, the squad's confidence wavered. They were trained hunters, yes, but someone out here knew the jungle better than they ever could and had already prepared the battlefield. The squad moved in tight formation, rifles raised, every sense sharpened by the weight of fear. The jungle seemed to breathe around them, shadows shifting, branches snapping far too close. Then, in an instant, it happened. A scream tore through the silence, sharp and desperate, but it was cut off just as quickly. The men spun around, flashlights slicing through the dark canopy, but the soldier was gone. No body, no blood, just the sound of leaves settling back into place, as if the jungle itself had swallowed him whole. "Check the perimeter," the commander barked, but his voice betrayed a crack of panic. They searched frantically, calling the man's name, but the only answer was silence. Cold, heavy silence. The squad regrouped, faces pale. One less rifle, one less man. And though they tried to reassure themselves, "He just got separated, we'll find him." Deep down they knew the truth. Something had taken him, something faster, quieter, and far more dangerous than any of them had prepared for. Night fell like a curtain, and with it came the voices. At first the soldiers thought it was the wind threading through the branches, but as the whispers grew clearer, they realized it was something else, something deliberate. From above the treetops, soft clicks and guttural tones echoed, bouncing through the canopy like a hunter calling out to its prey. The soldiers huddled together, rifles raised, but the jungle was alive with phantom sounds. Every direction carried danger. Every whisper felt closer. Fear spread like wildfire. Men muttered prayers under their breath, eyes darting to the shadows. A rookie clutched his rifle so tightly his knuckles turned white, whispering, "We're not hunting. We're being hunted." And high above, hidden in the darkness, the unseen warrior moved silently, watching their every step. The jungle had tested their nerves with silence, whispers, and traps, but nothing compared to the moment they finally saw him. At first, it was just a flicker, a silhouette darting between the trees, impossible to track, There 1 second and gone the next. The squad opened fire, bullets shredding leaves and bark, but the jungle swallowed the noise, offering no target. Then, in a break of moonlight, he revealed himself. A figure draped in camouflage made of vines and mud, his skin painted in tribal patterns, eyes gleaming with a feral light. He wasn't just blending with the jungle, he was the jungle. The soldiers froze, breath caught in their throats. In his hands, not a rifle, but weapons crafted from the land itself. Spears hardened in fire, blades carved from stone and bone. Tools of survival turned into instruments of death. One soldier whispered in disbelief, "He's not human." But the truth was worse. He was human, honed by the jungle, shaped by survival, and now he had marked them as prey. The soldiers pushed forward, nerves frayed, trying to convince themselves the figure they saw was just a man. But soon the jungle itself betrayed them. Every step became a gamble. The first trap snapped like lightning. A soldier yanked into the air by a rope hidden beneath the leaves, his body dangling helplessly as sharpened stakes swung toward him. Screams filled the night, cut short by the brutal efficiency of the trap. Blood stained the soil. Panic surged. Another man triggered a pitfall, the ground collapsing under his boots, revealing a pit lined with sharpened branches. His cry echoed, then faded into silence. The jungle closed over him, swallowing another victim. These weren't random snares. They were carefully designed, calculated to kill. The unseen warrior had been waiting, preparing, studying every weakness. The soldiers, once confident hunters, now looked around in terror. Every vine, every shadow, every patch of ground could mean death, and the truth settled in their bones. The jungle wasn't their battlefield, it was his. By now, discipline was gone. The squad that had marched in with military precision was reduced to scattered men, eyes wide, rifles shaking in their hands. The commander shouted orders, trying to rally them, but his voice cracked with fear. Every soldier knew it. They weren't the hunters anymore. They were prey. The jungle no longer felt like terrain to conquer, but a living creature tightening its grip, guiding them straight into the warrior's hands. Shadows moved faster than their eyes could follow. Branches snapped behind them, leaves rustled above, yet every time they spun and fired, there was nothing there. The warrior was everywhere and nowhere at once. One soldier screamed into the night, "Show yourself!" A spear answered his demand, piercing through the darkness and striking him down where he stood. The realization spread like fire. The jungle's deadliest fighter wasn't defending his home, he was hunting, and the hunt had only just begun. The jungle turned crimson. Every few steps, another scream, another body falling into the dirt. The air grew thick with the smell of sweat, gunpowder, and blood. Muzzle flashes lit the canopy, but no target ever appeared. The soldiers were firing at ghosts. One man stumbled upon his comrade slumped against a tree, eyes wide open, throat cut with surgical precision. Another fell as a spear burst from the foliage, striking him before he could even aim his rifle. The trees themselves seemed to bleed, each trunk hiding the aftermath of another victim. The commander's shouts grew desperate, drowned out by the chaos. Soldiers slipped, crawled, begged, their confidence shattered. Their training meant nothing here. Against this enemy, their weapons were useless, their numbers irrelevant. The jungle echoed with death, and in the moonlight, the warrior moved unseen, swift as the wind, merciless as a blade. The soldiers who had once marched with pride were now shadows of themselves. Fear had stripped away their discipline, leaving only chaos. Men stumbled through the undergrowth, shouting orders that no one followed, shooting blindly into the darkness. Their formation dissolved into fragments. Some fled deeper into the jungle, others huddled together, backs pressed against trees, trembling as if the forest itself would devour them. The jungle, alive with echoes of gunfire and terrified screams, seemed to laugh at their desperation. The commander, once unshakable, now shouted frantically, "Hold the line! Regroup!" But his men were deaf to his orders. They weren't soldiers anymore. They were prey, trapped in a nightmare that felt endless. For every step they took, the warrior was 2 steps ahead. He wasn't just killing them, he was breaking them, tearing away their courage piece by piece until all that remained was raw, uncontrollable panic. The jungle became a graveyard. Each man was taken in a way more brutal than the last, as if the warrior wanted to send a message with every kill. One soldier was dragged screaming into the undergrowth, his cries fading into silence. Another was struck down from above, a sharpened spear plunging through his chest before his eyes even found the source. Gunfire echoed, frantic and aimless, until it was silenced by the crack of bone or the thud of a body hitting the forest floor. They tried to fight back, to regroup, but it was useless. Every bullet missed, every plan collapsed. The warrior was everywhere, striking, vanishing, striking again. Fear dissolved into hopelessness, and hopelessness into despair. By the time the survivors realized how hopeless it truly was, half the squad was already gone, their bodies feeding the soil, their blood staining the roots. The jungle's deadliest fighter had turned their hunt into a massacre. The night that had begun with 12 hardened soldiers now echoed with the footsteps of only one. His breath came in ragged gasps, his uniform torn, his weapon nearly slipping from blood-stained hands. Every glance over his shoulder revealed nothing but shadows, yet he knew he wasn't alone. He stumbled through the undergrowth, whispering to himself, "I just have to make it out. Just have to survive." But the jungle offered no escape. Every tree looked the same. Every path circled back to where he started. It was as if the forest itself had closed in around him. His comrades were gone. His commander was gone. He wasn't a soldier anymore. He was prey, lost in the labyrinth of a hunter's making. And in his gut, he knew the truth. He wasn't going to leave this place alive. The last survivor stumbled into a clearing bathed in silver moonlight. His chest heaved, rifle shaking in his hands, sweat stinging his eyes. And then, silence. No whispers, no rustling. Only the steady beat of his own panicked heart. From the shadows, he emerged. The warrior. Covered in mud and blood, eyes glowing with merciless intent. He carried no gun, only the crude weapons of the jungle, a spear in one hand, a jagged blade in the other. Yet his presence was heavier, more terrifying than an army. The soldier raised his rifle, but his trembling fingers betrayed him. The warrior didn't rush. He circled slowly like a predator savoring the moment. Then, with terrifying speed, he struck. The rifle was knocked aside, the fight reduced to raw survival, fists, blades, and desperation clashing in the moonlit clearing. Every blow echoed like thunder. The soldier fought with everything he had left, but the jungle fighter was unrelenting, moving with the precision of a man who had never lost. This wasn't a duel. It was an execution written by the jungle itself. When the final strike landed, the clearing fell into stillness. The soldier's body collapsed onto the earth, his weapon lost in the mud, his fight extinguished. The jungle absorbed the sound, swallowing his last breath as though it had been waiting all along. The warrior stood over him, calm, unshaken, his chest rising and falling with steady breaths. He did not roar in triumph, nor revel in his victory. He simply blended back into the shadows as if he had never been there at all. Moments later, the forest came alive again. Birds called, insects buzzed, the wind returned. The unnatural silence lifted, replaced by the ordinary hum of life. To anyone else, it would seem like nothing had happened. But the trees, the earth, they remembered the blood spilled among them. The storm had passed, and the jungle, once again, belonged to its deadliest fighter. By dawn, the jungle bore no trace of the battle. No bodies lined the path, no weapons lay scattered in the mud. It was as if the earth itself had swallowed every piece of evidence, keeping the story for those who lived it, and none of them had survived. But legends have a way of escaping. The tale of the jungle's deadliest fighter spread beyond those trees, whispered by locals, carried by fearful lips into distant towns. They spoke of a man who was not a man, a ghost of the forest, a hunter who allowed no prey to leave alive. Some said he was the spirit of the jungle itself. Others believed he was the last of an ancient tribe, perfected by war and survival. What was true didn't matter. What mattered was the warning: once you stepped into his territory, you belonged to him. And before you go, ask yourself, would you survive the jungle's deadliest fighter? Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss another tale of vengeance, survival, and shocking twists.